Hello everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. Today I'm going to be inking and shading Spider-Man 2099. This is a random sketch, or random suave, for my Game Cave backers. I basically just don't have any more room in the magazine for art, so I've decided to do other characters that sort of vaguely fit into the fighting game theme. This being Marvel vs. Capcom, so I'm throwing in a bunch of these characters. Hey, art's art, right? You get some free stuff. So basically what I'm doing is I already did the line art digitally. I drew him up about 3 or 4 hours to get him put together. And then I printed it out onto my own paper. This is B marker paper, BEE marker paper. It's the same stuff I'll do the Copics with. And I print this out. Now I'm going to manually ink and shade it, the thick and thin, essentially. And then pencil and shade with red lead and stuff. When I get that done, I will scan it back into the computer, clean it up, print it back out, and do Copics over that copy. So at the end result, I'll have inks and pencil shades, and then I'll have Copics. Pretty nice, right? So let's get started. The ink I'm going to be using today is Holbein, 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 or IEN, however that works out. And I'll be inking primarily with this #2 Kolonsky Sable #2 round, and then also the Dulliter manga nib. So I've been teaching myself how to do thick and thin and inking with all this stuff, uh, as opposed to say pens. Not that I think right now it's any faster, but long term, the goal is to be able to just throw down a quick pencil sketch and then with brushes and quill go in there and do the whole classic image frontline line shit, right? So in the meantime, we press forward on. Brandon says he'll join in 30 minutes, but every time he says that, it ends up being 9 hours later. So I'm not waiting. I got my iced coffee. Yeah, it's super fucking hot, and let's get started. I'm gonna start with the thick outline first, and then I'll go back in with my nib here and add stuff. I love it. The question is, what do I think about Ben Affleck's suit? I love it. It's the perfect blend between Burton and Frank Miller. And the car looks like a cross between the 89 and the Tumbler, so I'm all for it, bro. Dark Knight Returns is still my favorite Batman, right next to Mad Love, you know? Only thing that can make it all better is if Paul Dini was in charge of writing all these movies. I especially like the texture work in this suit. All the scrapes and cuts and the leather texture in the cowl. I love the leather texture in the first Batman outfit from '89. I think the coolest part about all this is that we haven't seen their universe full on, so there can be multiple different suits if they wanted to. They could do flashbacks and he can be in different versions, you know. Hello, Sarah. What I'm really hoping for is Carrie Kelly. Still my favorite Robin. Hey, Christos. Yeah, and you know Snyder knows how to film a woman kicking ass, you know? And there could have been a boy Robin back in the past, you know? Like that's what I like about it, that they can still do that, you know? Yeah, I just think it's one of those things with a script, you know. It's like it's not a bad idea what they did, but it was pitched as basically a cross between, you know, heavy metal Brazil and, you know, Kill Bill in a way, like a prison break movie through the minds of chicks who aren't sane, you know. And it really could have just been that something simple like that. So, and I think people would have gravitated toward it, but even people who didn't like it, they can't admit it was shot bad. Like, and they got Larry Fong back as cinematographer on this movie. He wasn't on Man of Steel, so I'm really excited about that. Larry Fong did Sucker Punch and Watchmen and a lot of the Lost episodes and 300. I've been wanting to see a Larry Fong designed and shot, a Larry Fong shot Batcave since Watchmen and Night Owl, his little lair. Well, he'd been talking about it for a long time, even before Man of Steel. Like I remember one interview they asked him about, uh, that sort of equation, and he was talking about how he was more of a Batman guy than a Superman guy, and his favorite book was The Dark Knight Returns, because they're talking about adaptations. So he seems to be pretty consistent by the current design. This is getting really old. Oh, bum the fudge on, man. God, that gets annoying. It'll take a year to get comfortable with this. Uh, I tried to, man. I tried to sit through it. I fell asleep. It's one of the worst edited movies I've ever seen. You know, and tone aside, it's like there's three different editors and they're all like competing for who does what. I've seen better editing in an episode of Seinfeld. You know, but I knew going into it I wasn't gonna like the movie just because I didn't like the first one. I had really hoped, when they first announced these Spider-Man fucking reboots, they said they were gonna be low budget, like gonna actually shoot a guy swinging on rope and shit. And I was actually excited about that in a way, you know. Not that I think they shouldn't spend any money on them. It's just that when the acrobatics in the raid exceed the actual stunt work being done in a superhero movie, that's a problem. But they've turned it into a toy machine, and that's what it's designed to do, sell toys. So it's in Batman Forever territory for me, inching towards Batman and Robin. Like it has one foot in there right now. I wasn't the biggest fan of Forever when it came out, but there were some things I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Robin's kind of cool, and yeah, it's a little corny, but Batman fighting in the very beginning of the movie was pretty cool, and at least Batman's in it as opposed to just villains and stuff. So, I mean, wasn't anywhere near the level of the animated series, but I can find something. Batman and Robin's like irredeemable, and at this point, Spider-Man's headed right there. Headed right there, full steam ahead.
Hey, Rob.
Hold on. There. Make sure you never yell, "Hey, Rob!" Like, Blinky the Clown or something when I'm inking. All right.
No.
Hey, Rob!
What's a good?
What you just did's fine. It always scares me. Here's the thing:
Ah!
the crane thing is irrelevant to me because the whole movie was broke. Like it's popular on the internet to say the crane thing sucked, and believe me, it was retarded. But the whole movie was trying to be a James Cameron film. The first Spider-Man is what we're talking about, Brandon.
Oh, okay.
Whole villains just disappear, like the Indian dude gone. Lizard dude don't make any kind of sense. Peter says things that don't make any sense for the. Hold on. Like, where'd my parents go? Meanwhile, in the front of the movie, he's technically looking them up on Google.
No,
Shit like that. Like, who's Dr.
on
Connor?
being
Pictures of him, his dad, and Dr. Connor sitting right there. I'm like, you telling me Peter's never seen that? Like, so there's just stuff like that all over the film.
he
And
looked that.
then they made a blatant problem. The biggest problem I have with the reboot from the very beginning is he's not a nerd. Like he's kind of popular. Like being Spider-Man, like he's not popular when he's Spider-Man. He's just popular as Peter Parker. I mean, yeah, some kids pick on him in the first movie, but he's high-fiving people at school and shit, and you know, it's more like Saved by the Web. Dinner, near, near, near.
He was just like every other average teen.
Yeah. So was it like a colossal like screw the pooch movie? Like when you watch Batman and Robin, you're like, oh, holy shit, done. No, but it's sort of inept for me and pointless. So I was talking about how like I was initially really interested in the idea. When they first pitched the reboot, they said they were going to make it like a 60, 80 million dollar lower budget. Show a guy really swinging.
Right.
And that went away. Like and I'm spending 225 mil on that first movie. Half the movie's completely CGI. I mean, when the first teaser trailer came out, it was just like Mirror's Edge, all computer rendered.
Right. When he
I was,
jumps towards the building and he sees himself.
I'm for it if it was like a GoPro, and it was enhanced real world shit. That would
Right.
have been different. But it was literally just a CG movie. It may as well have been Cloudy with the chance of being bit by a radioactive spider. You know,
They could have put a GoPro on some parkour guy. Just let him go at it.
right?
You knew the movie wasn't realistic when he used Bing instead of Google.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna pull up
Arrow
my
is right in
Bing.
that same category, brother. You
I'm gonna
know?
pull up my Bing service.
And I'm wondering, like, has any of that bullshit product placement in Spider-Man or Arrow pushed you to actually use those services? No, it's completely fucking pointless. All it does is take you out of the moment. Like, you're right, because Arrow fucking uses Windows 8. Don't mean I am. You know?
All right.
I mean, when they made the lizard kind of a smiling guy, you know, like I was like, they could have done a whole beastly lizard thing, but no, they went with happy lizard guy, non too scary lizard dude. I was like, yeah, that's to not scare the kiddies, which is such horse shit. So marketing's in charge of that movie, you know, or the franchise. Yeah,
I did like the scene though with Stanley in the library where it was all silent and just us flying around. I thought that part was cool, but
yeah, but you know what I mean. It doesn't add anything to the movie.
no,
Zero zilch
just a cool scene.
with the CG Spider-Man in the background. I mean, he's the only real thing really there. A 90-year-old guy.
I I got a bunch of free movie passes the other day, and I was thinking, did you want me, since it'll be free, to go see Spider-Man 2 and then talk about it on the podcast?
If you want. What the fuck is going on with the ink, dude? Because now I'm thinking about redoing this whole fucking thing. It's driving me up the goddamn wall.
I don't see anything wrong.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I'm the one using this tool. You know? It's fucking pissing me off to no end, man.
Is it clumping up or?
It's just, yeah, it's something like that. It's just driving me up the freaking. It's the part, like, when I ink, I just want to be done, dude.
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to fucking sit here and like that isn't how it works with confidence. And so when it's just sitting there not doing anything and all it's doing is scratching paper, it just fucking drives me up the goddamn. God damn, dude. I'm telling you, if it keeps it up, I'm just gonna go back to pens and fuck this shit. Like as much as I would love to do it, I just don't have the fucking patience
You're
to sit
right.
here. Like I got other shit to do. Like I want to do this because I'm tired of buying pens, but this needs to fucking stop. Right the fuck now. Like And if I fucking suck, then I get it, but that's just not the case. It's like, what the fuck is it doing? 50,000 dollar fucking degree. Never once did anyone ever put ink in a well and be like, hey, here's how you fucking do this shit. Never, not once. I am considering just going back though. I don't know. Not gonna make the decision today, but in lieu of everything else I have to do, I just don't feel like spending longer on this than I have to.
Right.
No, I put the new Spider-Man movies in the same category as the Fantastic Four films. Like, someone will enjoy them. You know,
Right.
they're not like the fucking Captain America movie from '89 where he's got molded ears, molded plastic ears on his helmet. You ever watch that thing?
The
The '89 Captain America movie?
Yeah, a while back, but yeah.
It always play on USA, the Lou Ferrigno
Right.
fucking movies and that shit. And then a nice edited for TV version of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie.
Right.
As if the movie wasn't tame enough, now they gotta cut out any last ounce of fucking something for TV. It's always the best.
I'm still waiting for the Howard the Duck remake.
That is something that should never be turned into. Only if Seth MacFarlane's behind it, you know? Which, speaking of which, you see the Simpsons Family Guy crossover coming out?
No.
Yeah, it's
I
real.
seen I seen the trailer for his new movie, what was it, A Thousand Ways to Die in the West?
Million ways.
A Million Ways.
I'll watch anything that guy makes.
It's got my number one in the movie, so I'll be happy about that. Charlize Theron. She is gorgeous.
Aeon Flux?
Yeah, that's
The
that's
worst candidate for Aeon Flux.
you saying nothing bad about her.
She's a pretty woman, but the worst candidate for Aeon Flux. Even you must admit.
Could have been better choices.
All the way around, the whole movie. I mean, first off, it looked like a made for sci-fi movie.
Right.
I mean, the effects budget was comparable to the Dune TV series from 2001.
And it's got Neil Patrick Harris, and I like him.
Undercover Brother had Neil Patrick Harris. That doesn't quite. Oh, that still has that one scene I like where he goes all ape shit and everyone's freaked out. The white guy commits all the bloody murder and shit.
Right.
Got that laser printer to work last night. Postage printed and packed in less than a minute.
That's quick.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome? So tonight's the real experiment. How many an hour? I anticipate could be 40 an hour. You know, that's been the goal, 40 an hour. So I could have it all. I could have the first wave all done by tomorrow. You know, I only have a 2 hour window to do it during the week with everything else going on. So, but definitely. Then Friday I gotta go pick up canvas up in Santa Ana. I gotta drive up there. And my last PowerPrints 3 materials will be ready Friday to be picked up at the end of the day for my printer, so I gotta go pick that up too. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna end up going back to pens because I just want to get this shit done. I'm tired of stressing over this stuff, man.
All right.
Which is annoying because I really wanted the ink and shit to work personally, but I'm not gonna sit here. I could have got this done in half the time and been happier with it. I mean, it looks fine to most people, but to me, it's not something I'm happy with. Okay, wind. It's lovely when you got the damn blinds flapping you in the head too.
Is that what that noise is?
Yeah, it drives me up the fucking wall. I like vertical blinds, horizontal lines. You know,
Uh-huh.
because you can just turn them up, turn them down. They got these vertical, you know. It's like I have to fucking, I literally duct tape them together, you know, and the fucking thing came off yesterday. I haven't set it back up. Drives me up the wall. I put these makeshift curtains up, and then I tend to wrap them around. Like, I'm gonna do that right now. Fucking retarded. So, I'm gonna say something that puts me at risk of being labeled a complete asshole, but I'm just curious to see what you think. As somewhat of a comedian in my humor, writing, and broadcast, right?
Uh-huh.
I noticed something that was said on on the forum the other day, and someone said, "Hey, something something look retarded." And the forum guy said, "Don't use the word retarded, as it's offensive to people who are mentally handicapped." And I'm trying to figure out, can they tell? Is it offensive to the people, or is it offensive to the people taking care of them? You understand what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
Like,
get it. I would say, well, the first honestly, the first thing I would have said right there is they're not listening to the podcast. But
I didn't say it. It was just an observation I was making. Like,
right. You know, I my one of my best friends, she works for the like handicap Olympics here in Arizona, and I've done events and I've accidentally said the word, and they didn't really flip out as much as the people who take care of them do. Like, it comes out. You don't. You're not saying it to be a dick. You're just saying it as an expressive word
I'm gonna
that
reprint this.
that most people do. You're gonna toss it?
Eh. I'm not
Don't do
happy. I
it.
don't like looking at it, dude.
Don't do it.
Why? I just print another one out and do the fucking inks over again. You know? I don't give a shit. You were saying?
Right.
I'm the
Um,
one that has to look at it, Brandon. You know?
yeah, that's fine. You can toss it. Um, but I mean, anything could be used in a derogatory way. It just depends on how you say it.
Well, now it's getting crazy. I got a buddy who's in college, and they have a taco bar they set up.
Uh huh.
Right? He's out there on the East Coast, and he was saying that they weren't allowed to use the word taco bar or fiesta or some shit for Cinco de. It was weird, dude. He was like, "Yeah, it's weird. We weren't allowed to." It says derogatory. I'm like, but they're tacos. I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the guy to get on the PC shit because I could fucking
Right.
care less. You know, like, but
But I
when we
mean,
start heading down that path, I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I live in
any
Southern California, you know, like if I
yeah,
can't say we're having fucking tacos, yeah, it's gonna be trouble, you know.
anything could sound offensive. Put enough stank on it. You know what I
And this
mean?
is what's funny. When he's like, it's offensive to hand. I'm like, is it? Is it really offensive? Do they know? Like, I don't know. You know, I don't know.
I mean, nothing's offensive to anyone until people explain to them why it should be offensive.
I figure it's something for Louis C.K. to make an observation of something. You know what I mean? Like, just let it,
Right.
leave it to the stand-ups. They'll work this out.
I think that's where I got that expression. Anything could be a slang word until you put enough stank on it. I think he said
Dunno,
that.
dunno.
Like if I said your last name, but like really offensive, like just real.
Yeah, what about my last name? You
Right.
know, Duanis. You know, like that shit's offensive. You know, like when does it? What if saying my last name is offensive to me? I don't know, man. You know, I don't know. Especially in the
Oh,
army. Duane is. Oh, motherfucker. Like, never ends. Yeah.
I So here's a little backstory, and then I'm gonna tell you this funny video I saw. Michael Sam is the first openly gay football player to be drafted this past week,
Right.
and right after he got drafted, on the phone, he's a big, huge black dude. He kisses his tiny little white boyfriend on the lips, right? And
Okay.
instantly, all the hate and bigotry all just flooded the internet. And it was funny. I was watching this video yesterday, and it was this dad and his kid, and they're like, "How to explain Michael Sam to your kids?" And then so he's sitting down with the kids, and he's like, "Yeah, Michael Sam got drafted." And the kid, it's an older a guy playing a kid. He's like, "Oh, is that the guy who beat up his girlfriend and dragged her out of the elevator?" And he's
Right.
like, "No, that's Ray Rice. He's still in the NFL." And he goes down this list of all these NFL players that are still playing that have, beat their wives,
Yeah,
beat their
committed legitimate
kids.
crimes.
Yeah, just horrible, horrendous things. And then he gets to the gay player, and he's like, "So why don't people like him?" And they're like, "Well, he likes guys." And the kid's like, and he's like, "Well, why are the straight guys so worried the gay guy might check him out?" He goes, "That seems weird that they're worried about that."
Hey,
Just
considering they're all slapping each other on the ass anyway.
right, yeah. And the kid got to that. The actor guy playing the kid, but it was just great when they're just going off the list of all the stuff that the current NFL stars have done. Drug charges, DUIs, hitting their wives and kids. I mean, that stuff's horrible, but they get away with it, because they're rich and they're stars.
Murdering dogs.
Yeah. Uh, Getting arrested at the airport for the 49ers player, Alden Snow. It was just funny. It's like the guy's done nothing other than just being openly gay. He just admitted what he is. But these people who
As
are
if there were no other gay guys in the NFL. You know, as if
oh
there were
yeah,
no other gay men in the NFL. Like,
right. Out of the thousands and thousands of people, there's not one. There's some. They eventually some of them come out later, but
well, I always thought, like, as crazy as it seemed at the time, when the WWF threw Goldust into the mix, you know, a
yeah,
guy who was like clearly sort of a
flamboyant.
transvestite, and I mean, it was all an act, but you know what I mean? Like that was because they had this whole like our wrestler's gay and his AIDS going through, so they had him, and just like He was like literally like dry humping dudes in the ring. Like that just threw fucking wrestling fans for a loop. You know, this is like the early '90s,
Right.
and then him and Roddy Piper got into. I don't know. Like today, I still don't know what to think about that. There was a Roddy Piper. It was like WrestleMania 11, I think it was, or 12.
Uh
Roddy Piper and fucking Goldust got into this match, and I don't know what it was. It was like to this day, I'm like, is he beating a game in or
huh.
like I don't know. You fruity, like there was that shit, but then there was also the game man giving him a fucking I don't know, like
Like, what were they trying to do with it?
yeah, no clear victory. I think at the end of the day, it was almost a playoff. It was really weird. It was almost a playoff the They Live fight, because it was they went outside to an alley, and then they
Uh-huh.
showed footage. They intersected footage of like Roddy chasing him down his car, but it was clearly the white Bronco footage from OJ, like the 4 years after the fact. Like I don't know to this day, dude. Like it's one of the most surreal matches I've ever seen. Just trying to figure out what were
Were they
this
trying to show they're tolerant? They're not tolerant?
what was this, and why does the OJ factor in? Like I don't know, man. I don't know, Brandon. You know.
Right.
Yeah, it's just going a
But
lot easier.
yeah, that just
Maybe
made
I
me
just can't
laugh.
ink when there's fucking 90 to something degree heat in my room or something. I don't know. I don't know, man.
And plus, you keep a nice flow when you're using this pen instead of having to turn,
Yeah, that
dip.
drives me nuts. I don't mind when I'm painting.
Uh huh.
But so I guess I've just been doing this too long with this to fucking stop every 3 seconds.
Right.
And if there's really no visible difference, why bother? You see what I'm
Right.
saying to that too? Like I was just like, well, I could do it, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I don't know if it's making me yell, that's probably not.
I mean, if it doesn't look any different, you're definitely not doing it for the look. I think sometimes, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I think you do things just to show that you can do it, to test yourself, and you
Well, there's
can.
nothing wrong with that, Brandon.
No,
Like you should be doing that with like construction,
right.
perspective.
But I mean, you can do it. But the pen,
Well, no, the thing I really want to do with it is not this at all. Like, I don't want to what I really want to be able to do at some point is just take one of those like loose sketches,
uh,
like the Capullo fucking way, and turn that shit into something. But I'm gonna have to just do that on my own time. So I was just trying to get good with, or comfortable. Comfortable would be the word with the utensil. And I'm fairly comfortable with it, but there is an ink ratio, like water to ink ratio, that has to be worked out. And no one talks about this, by the way.
mhm.
Like there isn't any fucking yeah, just fucking shove some water in there and loosen the shit up. Like it's one of those gaping holes in the tutorial world.
Mhm. Mhm.
I need to. One second. That's not what I want to do there. Well, maybe that is what I want to do. Yeah, so Brandon and I were talking yesterday about Spider-Man, and I had come up with something that I was like, it would be really awesome if Marvel got the Spider-Man license back. What they would do is instead of just being like, here's Peter Parker in the reboot, is they really could like start it at 2099 or do some kind of time travel story between the different Spider-Mans.
Mhm.
Like that one game that came out at the Edge of Time. Like it'd be nice to see the different Spider-Mans throughout the era in one movie. And it would be, way different than the typical heroes bullshit journey that we've all come to fucking see over and over again.
Right. I mean, if they wanted to, they could have it him struggling with the choices he makes leads him down different paths, and he's like, oh man, I can't believe that's how I would have been if I went blah
Or he
blah blah.
finds out that he leaves a legacy where there's other Spider-Man. Because I think what I'd like to do is get past the fact that there's one Spider-Man.
Right,
There wasn't in Marvel, like, there eventually were other Spider-Men, So, like, it'd be really great to be able to show that. Which I don't think anyone's ever done yet, right? That's uncharted territory for a movie.
right. Write the script.
Write the fans, sure, right.
Write
I got enough to do.
write the script and get yourself a meeting with Marvel, or I mean not Marvel, Fox.
Or just tell my screenwriter friends, and then they can laugh at me, tell me it'll never work, and then it happens.
They're like, that's stupid, Rob, and they're writing it down.
Marvel will never go for a black Spider-Man. I said, Kevin, it should be you who writes this before they get like a Brian Michael Bendis. I swear to God, before they get some white, Brian Michael Bendis dude to write it. Don't you think, they'll never go for it, man? They're closed-minded. I'm like, how are they closed-minded if they let him make the black superhero comics that he did? It's just, okay, he wrote some poor comics. Like, I'm like, dude, Kevin, like, they let you make, that stuff. It's just, no one cared. Like, I guarantee if it lit up the sales. But they're not against it. That's retarded. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive to the retarded. That's some shit I'm gonna have to, like, really? I don't know. It's so casual white male. Like, is that fine now? Can I do that? It's so middle-aged yuppie white male. Whatever. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
not offensive. There's a guy who grew up with Richard Pryor, Blazing Saddles, fucking, like, it's just hard for me to give any of that any kind of credence. Especially having lived in foreign countries, like, they could really care less.
Right. They kill people for being different.
Which is some total horseshit. Which, by the way, props to the fucking cats protesting the Beverly Hills Hotel, right?
No clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the Sultan of Brunei owns the Beverly Hills Hotel,
Okay.
and he just passed this law that allows him to fucking like, cut off hands and limbs and shit for being gay and all sorts of stuff.
Jesus.
So, Hollywood actors are actually like protest because they usually have their conventions and award ceremonies and stuff at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And like, we can't support this guy, and they're like, look, don't. Then they try to play it. Don't hurt the workers. You're taking food away from them. It's like, no, 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 no. Nice spin, Beverly Hills Hotel.
Right.
Buy back your ownership. You know, dumbasses.
See, that's the shit. Like people are getting, in a rage, first world problems that a football player is gay, but in other countries they're cutting your hands off and for being gay. You know, put that shit on American TV,
USA,
yeah,
USA.
and then you have to explain, because what really a couple of the comments was like, there's a college star basketball player. He's like, my 7-year-old and 11-year-old brother saw that. What am I supposed to tell them? It's like, let them watch a guy get his hand cut off in real life. Faces of death shit.
I don't know. Show them the Nick Berg video where the guy got decapitated back. Remember when the beginning when the war started?
Right.
Like, show them that video and explain to them. Like, at some
Right.
point, people, we all got to know there's no such fucking thing as Santa Claus. Like, we live in a real world where people do things we don't always agree with. So what?
Right.
Sometimes those fucking things are horrific. And
And
so
the fact is, people don't. They're too lazy or not open-minded enough to explain things, and
Yeah,
that's why they're
bro,
like,
you should go read newspapers from the 1800s. This is nothing new.
right.
You can't blame this one on social media.
Well, no,
Most
I'm
people
saying
just live in a bubble.
when people are like, "How am I supposed to explain that to?" But well, just do it. It's not that hard. People don't want to talk.
I mean, on a separate note, you know how many times people go, "Oh, you make money drawing? You actually make money doing that?" I'm like, "Fucker, you go see these movies. Who you like?
Right.
Where do you think all your shit comes from? Like,
Yeah, I kind of got into it with my mother, and not got into it, but I had to really explain to her what I do and what my wife was going to school for to my mother-in-law because she's like, "Oh yeah, so how's your hobby going?" I was
oh
like,
yeah, that's a good
I
start."
was just like, and like you could just see the rage on Jessica's face. My wife just like, "Fucking hobby, really?" Like I didn't just spend. And I was like, "It's not a hobby when." Or first I go, "Hobby, yeah." I'm like, man, that those Marvel movies, those seem like great hobbies. The billions of dollars they make, and I trying
It's
to
a form
explain
of
this.
passive aggression. They're unhappy with their lives, so
Right.
they have to sort of belittle the fact that you're doing something.
Hmm.
And if you're not rich from it, then you're a total failure. Much like my own mother, because I didn't spend a career. I spent 4 years in the army. Because I didn't spend 20 years, I don't really know what it's like to be in the military, or I get no credit because I only did 4 years as a tanker.
Right.
Like, even though she hasn't served one fucking day.
Right.
But I got to hear about how I only did. Well, it's only 4 years. It's like I remember this was not too long ago. It was a few years ago, and I remember sitting in the car, and I don't see this woman often, and I'm like, "Are you really gonna fucking sit here and start? You haven't spent one goddamn day." Speaking of fucking hobbies, has any of your fucking hobbies ever turned into money on any level?
Right.
The second your hobby, nets a fucking financial result, it's no longer a hobby.
Right. And that's what I had to explain to her. I'm like, well, I'm getting paid to sit there and work. I go sitting at my desk for 8 hours at a time isn't really a hobby. That's not something I always enjoy. I just had to give her the whole speech and just everyone else kind of around got it. She was just like, yeah, 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 I guess it's a job. Like, no, it is a fucking job. When yeah,
Eh, I
frustrating.
just stopped talking to those people because she got to move in with this one, right?
No, 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 no. The one that offered to let us move in was my mom, and that's not gonna happen. Like I said, I'll no.
Yeah, so the whole boards are like I was talking about earlier about, you know, because we're getting this whole like
You just stop mid sentence.
because I got a text.
Oh, it's like, all right.
It was concerning my cat. There's this orange tabby that just appeared out of nowhere. I think someone abandoned him or he ran away from home or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's out at night and you could just hear all sorts of nonsense. And now he's prowling our area. And so the landlord wanted to know if it was not Reese's, my cat, because he's a tabby. I'm like, no, my cat is never let outside under any circumstance.
Right.
So he's under the bed. I know I just chased his fucking ass because he was going after my dog's food. Yeah, I was talking about how like since we're getting this whole like Miller kind of Batman, will we get a Carrie Kelly too?
Uh huh.
That should be sick. and I know the superhero hype forums were not cool on that idea. It doesn't mean that a boy Robin didn't exist. I'm just saying he's in his later career. Seems to
Right.
me the odds are,
I mean, he could have already had the Robin, and Robin's already Nightwing by now, or dead.
yeah, the suit could be in the cave.
Right. I think that'd be cooler than anything. If you show him in the cave sitting there brooding, where he's got his hands up
Well,
close
it's
to
what
his
they try to
face.
do with the whole Rachel, but a girl isn't enough. That's not the mission,
Right.
like they tried that with the Dark Knight Rises. Well, he quit over a girl, and I'm like, that quitting over Robin's one thing, like it's just not quite the same thing.
Fuck it. Put the T-Rex in the background, the giant penny too.
Yeah, I could care less for all that.
Yeah, but I think shit like that, like fans are like, oh, that'd be ridiculous. I'm like, you
I
geek
don't think it's
out when you
ridiculous.
see
I could
shit
just
like
care
that.
less, like it
Right.
doesn't. If it happens, I'm like whatever, I don't get a, I don't get a. Oh my God, it's a giant pen, like I don't. It's not what I'm in it for.
Secretly, you are.
I'm not. The only bit of comic thing that I'm really interested that they get to is a real Arkham, you know, like Arkham Asylum kind of shit. Not. I mean, Batman Begins was nice, but I'd like a real, creepy fucking House of Horrors,
Right.
rusted chains, old fucking library, ghoulish nightmare place. I'm definitely going to keep the nib and stuff. I'm going to have to use it when I watercolor. There's no real way around that. When I use colored inks, I'm not going back to rapidograph. But for this shit, there's just no point. It's just way faster to do it this way anyway. And I'm not going to go back to refilling rapidographs. So, I'm definitely going to go see Godzilla. Hope the shit works out.
Right.
I just watched that one of those like those real honest movie trailers for the '98 Godzilla.
Hmm.
It took me back to how fucking horrible that movie was. When it just turns into like, and they even went through a whole like scenes from Jurassic Park and then showed you scenes from the movie where they just knocked off Jurassic Park. The cartoon was actually kind of cool.
Oh man. So I'm looking at this picture. It's the Batman, the new Batman picture, but him photoshopped into different things. It says "Sad Man."
Oh yeah, there's a whole meme going on where they put him in. Look, the internet loves to take anything and make it stupid, and I try not to participate in that.
I think the best one though is Ben Affleck the Batman suit, and then in the mirror is a picture of him as Daredevil. It just says "Sad Man." He's fucking got the reflection of with the Daredevil mask on.
We should be getting Daredevil casting news soon. They start filming in a month.
Nice. I thought they were doing there. I thought they signed the Dexter guy.
No, he said he'd be willing to do it, but they haven't announced any official anything.
Oh,
He's my first pick, bro.
right.
You know, that's been that way for the longest time. I take him or that guy that was in Battlestar Galactica. He played an Arrow as a bad guy in the first season.
They're definitely making up time.
Told you, it's just much faster. And right now, dude, with everything else that has to be done with these, you know. You see that Roberto Orsi's going to direct the next Star Trek movie?
I don't know who that is.
He's the writer, one of the co-writers. He also co-wrote the Transformer movies and shit. Like, he's a big Star Trek fan, and that's cool and all. And I'm not against like, newcomers and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't know why a first-time director would want their first movie to be a movie like that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Such a large scale movie where
Like, go direct an
die hard.
episode of fucking Game of Thrones at least first, dude. Like, something, you know?
Yeah. Could either go really good or really bad.
So I don't know. Whole internet wants to think it's the end of Star Trek, but really should go watch Nemesis. People legitimately say Into Darkness is the worst Star Trek film ever made. I'm like, you're out your fucking mind.
Right.
Like, it's nowhere near it. Like people just
Nemesis was
forget
the most
history.
boring shit I ever seen.
People just forget history. Like they just literally whatever just came out has to be the worst thing or the best thing ever made. I mean, fucking the final goddamn frontier. I mean, this has a 7-year-old Uhura naked in the desert, dude. Like,
Ugh.
charming the
Ugh.
wiles of alien dudes, you know?
Alright, oh god. Hold on one second, I'll be right back, bro.
You're really not gonna vomit from that, are you? She's not that bad.
No, no, my wife's calling.
All right, it's a little overboard. I gotta start the shade. 1 second. There. You back?
Yep.
All right. I had my Canvas guys had questions. I had to deal with that during business hours. So, I'm just trying to load up my last shade reference.
I have two things to talk about.
Okay.
One, quickly. I hate when people don't do their jobs correctly. Like the apartment complex we had lined up, they said, yeah, you're good to go. Send your application and the money over. We sent it over. And then another person sees it and they're like, oh, yeah, the other person was wrong. We're all full for like 2 months. So we'll send it all back. You're good. You can't move in. So now the place we're putting our eggs in our basket for, that's a no-go. So we got to go with option B, which I don't really want to live there, but still an apartment complex, blah, blah. But sharing that with you. So that pissed me off because people are stupid. They don't just
Did they
double check.
promise you an actual apartment, or just that they were available?
The I don't know. I'd have to ask Jessica.
Did you
But,
sign anything?
I don't know. So it
Because
was
if
just
you'd
probably
already signed to move in somewhere and they flip that shit up on you, then they're
right.
required to find you a place to stay.
No, we didn't. We didn't sign yet. I think the person she talked to was just stupid. So that sucks. Second, back to Ahura in the desert with all the men. Phoenix Comic Con. This final thing. Let me pull this up so I word it right. Is having. Let's see. All right. Space. Dot dot dot. Sex's final frontier. Sexuality in the Star Trek universe. Join us June 7th at 9 p.m. at the Phoenix Comic Con for this 18 and up candid discussion regarding the members of Starfleet
Dude, the whole thing's turning into a porn con, don't you think?
and
Like,
their
they got
exploitation
raves, they
in and
got.
out of their quarters. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm like, really? Really? I'm just like, fuck, man, come on.
Yeah, they're trying to get. Wow.
I got a headline for you. Join us June 8th as ABC News Arizona is at Comic Con trying to find the rapee of last night's rape.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that, but I'm just saying that, like it's the complete opposite of what Comic Con's about, you know? They're turning it into something. They have an agenda, you know? And it's clear, like, they want to get the whole, like, you know, hey, we got a bunch of guys running around asking weird shit. We'll get that crowd, you know? And the guys of it being like, oh, like, man, I'm a pretty liberal dude, you know? But I guess they're moving away from families and going into raves and talking about Nook and Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm just
Next thing you know, Ebass will have a drink off, you know? Like, out drink Ebass at fucking Phoenix Comic Con, June 9th,
impossible.
you know, for this 21 and over event. You know, Bisley will show up. Out party fucking Simon Bisley. Like, join us at the Bunny Ranch as we explore.
That's funny.
No, whatever. It's not about artists. You know, it's not about art. All I know is with every little thing they're doing, something's going to go horribly wrong at some point. You know?
All
They're
right.
just lining themselves up for that event. Something. If you build it, they will come.
I mean, it's just, do you really want 50 and 80-year-old Star Trek guys talking about how they used to get boned because they were an extra?
Who wants to be in the room? Well, I'm just trying to figure out who wants to be in that room. You know? What's that room going to look like? I guess if you can't get movie studios to come down and you can't really, you're not up for like flying in a bunch of actual talent, the next step would be shocking events, Like, well, wow, then no one's ever done this before. We'll pave the way. All right.
Yeah.
Aren't they the same ones that say there's no sexuality in I don't know. You know, they
Right.
do. I don't know. I don't know what their stance is. All I know is they're strange dudes running that con. Have fun. Let me know how it goes. You got to go to that one. You'll be the only guy there. They'll take a photograph and be like, "Look who showed up." And you're like, "No, no, 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 no."
The photograph will be from like the doorway.
Just you peeking in,
Yeah.
like off the side, right? Like,
Yeah. Just a quick little snap, and then I'm out.
like the wandering Muppet, like the
Right.
Muppet who wanders in.
I don't want to be. I don't want someone getting a picture of me and tagging me at that. Then,
The Creeper Con, dude. I'm telling you right now, if they put out the call to do a mermaids only event, you know who's making the Mecca trip from LA.
yeah. Uh, I have not drawn a mermaid since that guy.
Not against the whole drawing a mermaid thing. Chris Andrews draws a cute little mermaid, but that guy has something else going on. And does it stop with that?
I don't even want to joke. I don't even want
Yeah, it's pretty good, but keep working. I so miss that. I did do some search into that whole Brian Singer case a little bit,
to.
and the judge already dropped one of these guys' cases. This guy I think it's Hagman, the guy who's going after him, the lawyer who keeps filing on behalf of this guy.
Uh-huh.
And so my guess is somebody pissed somebody off somewhere. You know what I mean? And this is like just a smear tactic
Right.
timed around the release of the movie. I mean, I read the charges and it's pretty like if any of it were true, it would be in Kill Bill I mean, Pulp Fiction territory. It's pretty ridiculous. Like it isn't like, oh, they met up at a coffee. It's like they tied a guy down and there was a muscle man and I mean, it's weird shit, dude, like pretty ridiculous stuff.
Right.
In my case, designed to slander, with the details kind of thing.
Hmm.
Not that I'm a big, like I'm not the defender of Bryan Singer. He has his own lawyers, but something fishy about the whole thing from the beginning. To get all these years, and just
Right.
right now you bring this case forward. Oh, and he filed another case, and and in the media is great. They don't say that the judge threw out the old case. You know, they just
Right.
say another problem for Bryan Singer. No, it's because he got the other. Never mind. Like, uh, journalism.
Right.
I still say my favorite Bryan Singer story is when my buddy had put on all that weight
Right.
and tried to get Bryan Singer's autograph back at Comic Con when Superman Returns came out, and there was these hot looking dudes next to him, and he looked at my friend and looked at the guys and went to the guys right next to him. Just not good enough for Bryan Singer. I was like, oh, see, Joe, gotta lose some weight. It's hilarious. He used to be a little bit of a player anyway, so I imagine that was just karma. I remember years before, like around 2001, he got hit up by his friend who started this site called AverageJoe.com, which is like, I guess at the time it was this whole thing for like, pics of dudes for dudes. And he was like, hey, you can model. It's not, it's not salacious. It's, legitimate. And like that's just a step towards gay porn. And he's like, well, I don't really know. I could use the money, but, and, I told him, I said, maybe he didn't recognize you from the Average Joe days. He's like, Rob, like, I was like, why do you remember this? Like, I'm like, I don't know, like, what? You're a model. I'm like, fucking dude. You went from AverageJoe.com to just Average Joe. Because I don't have these stories. You know what I mean? Like, about me. That's why I think it's hilarious, and I never forget them. Because I don't have those kinds of stories. I don't have the denied by Bryan Singer story. I'd tell it if I had it. For me, I wouldn't be like hiding that shit. I got denied. I was overweight. I think he somehow thinks because like it happened to him, like I won't forget or I bring it up. I'm like, no, it if it happened to me, like it's fucking ridiculous. Like I did that little mini comic once, Yam,
Hmm.
and he took it to con and just started handing out copies of it, and he handed one to Quentin Tarantino, who looked at it and just tossed it. I was like, that's awesome, like. Because it was horrible, and it's like it's definitely not something you show to Quentin Tarantino. Like, he's the guy
Right.
who'd be like, I don't even know what the fuck you're trying to do, and yeah, it's not like I hide that info. So where are you guys gonna move now?
I don't know. There's a place across the street from that one that it's. I don't know. Probably that one. Maybe if they got anything available. The reason we like that one is it had it was really spacious, and it had your own washer and dryer in it, and it also came with utilities included in the bill. So it was all a good price. It was downtown, kind of downtown area, kind of neutral. Uh, Jeff Pena, the artist buddy of mine, he lives there, and his wife and my wife hang out a lot. So that was also nice, and it was a good location next to. I know that's not answering your question. That's saying what I liked
You
about
don't
the
know.
other. I don't know. I don't know. It's
I know why you liked it, but it's
all right.
it's a no deal at this point.
All
So
right. I don't know. It's as soon as she gets home, we'll or before she gets home, I might look up some places. I don't know. The big thing is too, she doesn't want a place that doesn't have its own washer and dryer inside because she doesn't want to go, alone to the washing machine type place and do her laundry there. So
well, what about a laundry room? I mean, I don't have a fucking washer and dryer built into my place, you know?
right. Well, she doesn't want. And she doesn't. A lot of the places here in Arizona, they're just unless you live in a nicer. No, every place here in Arizona, it's like the washing area is just any apartment complex that has that is usually ghetto. And every apartment here in Arizona usually includes a washer and dryer in the place, but that's an extra charge. But I don't know. I don't know, man.
Sounds like a lot of wants, but not a lot of options.
Right? It's just because then we start thinking, okay, well, we can afford maybe something a little nicer, but then a couple months from now, she's got her damn school loan to start paying off. And that's four
You
hundred a
defer.
month.
You just defer, bro. You can defer for years, you know?
Doesn't that add money to it though?
There's one that doesn't, there's one that does. Forbearance and deferment, you know?
Hmm. I'll
Just buy
talk
you
to her.
12 months, dude. You know?
Yeah, I'll talk to her about it.
I mean, you'll win the money every month. Is something you're gonna, no matter what. So it doesn't matter if it's 3 months from now or 2 years from now, you know?
Right.
Like, but at some point, expectations need to meet reality. You know, there's a lot of what, and I've been through that. Well, I want to do this and I want it to be that. Well, you know, reality
Right.
is what
And
we can actually do.
right. And I mean, we're pretty good about that. That's what I'm saying. We know we can't. A year and some ago, we almost got a house when she inherited some money, but then we got the car. She paid off some of the school debt, some of the school stuff she had, and classes and stuff, and some of the credit cards. And then now it's like, damn, wish we had some of that left to use just for something a little nicer. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So
Yeah, paying off school early was a bad move.
she paid off a little of it. I think it was more so she owed to take. Like I think she had some classes left and she couldn't take them till she paid something. I don't know what the deal is. I don't argue. I don't question. She handles the money really well, so I just give her money and she pays the car and everything, which will have I think paid off in a year or two. or a year. I don't know. But blah blah blah. I'm just gonna walk around with my briefcase and
You're falling down.
yeah, you got it. That's one thing I rather enjoy when I talk to you, Rob. I can just make an obscure comment
And
and
you
you
like how
get it.
quickly my
Yeah,
mind works on
you got it.
obscure, useless cinematic trivia. Of course, if you make a comment about a comedy made in the last fucking 2 years, chances are I don't know.
All right.
I just ignore a lot of modern bullshit cinema. You know.
I tried to explain again to Jessica by using. I was very visual and pantomiming how amazing the Batman was yesterday. After like later, I was like, "Do you understand how minds are being blown right now?" I'm like, so then I explained to her, I was like, imagine. I was like, you know the scene in Watchmen where Silk Spectre drops to the roof and shit. I'm like, now imagine that Wonder Woman, but she has a lasso, and she's just throwing guys in the air and then punching them once they're in the air and shit. And she's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm like, right, okay, that's like Batman for me right now. I was like, he's throwing batarangs, he's kicking dudes in the face. I'm like, that's what I'm envisioning right now. It's like, I was like, this is everything I want a comic book Batman to be.
And you know you're still gonna get a techno suit, right?
Right, yeah, but that's in the book too. So
Bat armor.
I'm thinking, when I envision the Bat armor, I envision the designs for the Edge of Tomorrow. Have you seen the preview for that with Tom
Yeah, I
Cruise?
don't. It's very clunky. I imagine it will not be clunky.
I imagine it will.
No.
I think it'll be very Edge of Tomorrow and Iron Man clunky, like when he first makes his first suit. Very, you got the arm bars and the back spinal piece.
I don't. I think it'll be like more like a bulkier version of. I think it'll be somewhere between Titanfall and Arkham Knight armor.
Titanfall.
Yeah, you know how they use that mech design where
Oh,
you
okay.
actually, you're like StarCraft, you know.
Okay, yeah, I get you. When you said Titanfall at first, I was like, wait a minute, that's giant robots. So it just took me a second.
Bro, it's Superman. Like you could take a spaceship against his ass, and you're not gonna take a direct punch. So you know.
Right. So I mean, what do you? If he
I
has
just
this,
imagine it'll be rounded. It'll be more. It won't be bulky with little. It won't look like crumpled beer cans. You know.
could you could you imagine that shit though? He's just got like the squished beer cans for like a 6 pack and shit. He's just like, let's do this shit.
So every time I see the Transformers, like it's crumpled beer cans.
Because Superman did have a beer. That was his weakness. That was his. Remember the dude poured the beer on his head and that set him off, man. That that made him put a guy's truck on a telephone pole.
Should have put his ass on a fucking telephone pole. Yeah, I know, right? Poured a drink right on.
Not Keystone Light. Ah.
You know, you could have used Rolling Rock, but you didn't. So now you're gonna pay.
Do you think they're going to introduce Kryptonite?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that has to be the
There's
only
no
way,
way they don't. You know.
right? I
The
mean, they
question
didn't.
I have is how they're gonna use Darkseid. Are they gonna use him as a herald? I mean, or Doomsday? Are they gonna use him as a herald of Darkseid, or are they gonna use him as something Luther made? You know, or some shit like that.
Right.
Because the explanation they ever came up in the comics was retarded. You know, like I always figured it was like a weapon of Doomsday or
Right.
some fucking Star Labs experiment gone wrong or some shit. You know, like Luther trying to make a Kryptonian and it got all fucking Frankensteined out.
Right. I don't see why they couldn't just take, let's say, one of the Kryptonians that didn't get sucked into the negative zone or whatever it was, and just had Luthor like got a hold of the body through the military to do experimentations on, and then that could be the Doomsday, or that could be a Bizarro, or whatever you want. You know?
The Bizarro thing I just could care less for. Like, I
No,
don't know.
I'm not saying actual Bizarro, but I'm just
I don't need
saying.
Mitz's Plix and all that other bullshit either.
Right. I'm just saying a form of outraged, deformed Kryptonian after he's got a hold of one of the Kryptonian bodies and he's doing experiments on and what makes them weak and all that other shit. So it doesn't have to be an actual Bizarro with me Bizarro and has a fucking rock necklace that says number one and shit or whatever, but just a deformed Kryptonian guy.
They get Will Ferrell to do the voice. I'm Bizarro Superman.
See, I make a very good plot idea, and then you put in Will Ferrell.
Well, that's what they would do, right? Typical fucking Bizarro.
Excuse me.
See, I made a perfectly good statement. Now you know you want me, then you say I can't. No, 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 no. It's a quagmire talking to you. I don't know what I can and can't do. That's why I tell you I'll be on in 30 minutes and it's 4 hours.
This today was only 40
It's
minutes.
an hour.
Yeah,
I timed it.
I made you wait on purpose.
Didn't make me wait. I moved forward.
Uh, I'm here, Rob. Okay, I'm here for you.
That's why I hear you typing and chatting and doing all sorts of other shit. Like, where am I gonna live? That place isn't open. Maybe like, so yeah, our next plan is we walked outside and we saw the place across the street has some rooms for rent. And so it's
I'm
my
draw.
move.
I'm drawing right now.
It's
I've been
my
drawing.
move. I remember when I first looked for an apartment, I was like, just drove down the street. There's something. I wonder how much they charge.
We did. We tried that. We drove around, and that's how we found the second choice by the other one. We were just driving around. I was like, yeah, let's just drive, see what we see. And then, you see these places, and they never list the price. You see something like, oh, that's not bad, not the best area, but it can't be too expensive. And then you go online, and you're just like, fuck.
My first apartment was so affordable, and it was nice because it was mostly older people that lived there. And it had a pool, so there was no kids and shit.
Hmm.
But I won't lie, bro. It was insanely hot to live. I figured out why they charged so little. But I didn't care
Hmm.
because I was like, it only cost me 300. You know, it was like
Jesus.
600 for two bedroom.
All right.
And I was like, I'm not, and it was safe too. I didn't have to worry about people breaking into my shit. The landlord's son would come over. The maintenance guy was a landlord's kid. He'd come over and fix shit. I'm like, ah, now I feel like a douche. But it turns out the kid loved Nintendo 64. Like he was way too young, but apparently he knew every Nintendo 64 game. And so I had like games that he couldn't even like. I had the Indiana Jones game, which you could only buy direct from LucasArts at the time. Like it was only for like less than a year. It was available. And so I had that game, and he's like, "Oh my God, you got the Infernal Machine?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fucking infernally fucking piece of shit." He's like, "Oh, look, I gave him every Nintendo 64 game when I left." It's like, "Hey, you can keep everything." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, have fun, dude."
And no apartments were fixed after that.
He was like Miyagi's kid. What do I think about Eisenberg playing Lex? I think it's fine. If I want a socially awkward Facebook dude, who believes and knows he's smarter than everybody else, then you got the right guy to do it.
Right.
Just like Andrew Garfield. Hey, he could play a nerd if you let him. He was more Peter Parker in that Social Network movie than he is in the movies.
Right. Disregarded and yeah, go away. Go do something else type thing. Yeah, when he in that social network when he explains why he's smarter than the other people in that room, I was like, yeah. Like looking back, I was like, yeah, he'll be a good Lex Luthor.
I mean, look, Clancy Brown did a good job voicing Luthor. I always had a problem with the Bruce Timm design in that he looked like he was just as tough as Superman, and I never understood that design. You know,
How
the
big
Bruce
he
Timm
was.
design. Yeah, I mean, I get the voice. He could have been strong voiced, but I never understood why he was so huge in the cartoon. It was my like one gripe about the cartoon. Then I always felt that whoever voiced Superman, was it Tim Daly? Whoever
Yeah,
voiced Superman in the Bruce Timm cartoon was really stale to me. He had no personality.
I
Like
think it was
I don't
Tim
know.
Daly.
A lot of people like him, but I was like I just hear no personality. None. Like he sounds almost robotic to me. But
Yeah, I always thought Lex Luthor should be like the skinnier version, because Superman's all brawn and bulk, and Luthor hates that, this big hero savior just knocking people around. So
yeah, they
it's
don't have to be childhood friends for me. I'm not.
right,
I don't care about all that. Being that he used to have what he was a clone once with giant hairy Knowles hair. You know, back in the 80s and 90s. Like
and then there was the Lionel Yu series Birthright, where they were childhood friends
I
or
didn't.
whatever.
Well, that was a play off the original Superboy stuff. I didn't care for there were parts of Birthright I like where he sort of faked an alien invasion. Thought that was cool.
Right.
You know, thought that was kind of cool. But as long
I,
as you can
I
believe holograms, I don't know, they're tangible holograms. Like they don't really get into those kinds of specifics.
I just bought it for use art. I just
Yeah, I did too, but then I decided to read the fucking thing because I figured Mark Waid could write because I did enjoy his impulse back in the day.
right.
You know. Bork, Bork. I want it all in Swedish Chef as backup. Bork, Bork, Bork. It would never get old.
Hey, you're almost done shading.
I just like it when there's like this impression of Superman. Like Lex has always been bald. Like, well, no, not really.
Right.
Superman's never killed anybody. Killed Zod like 7 times. I can personally remember at least two. You know,
Right.
I mean, uh, I remember the time Spider-Man knocked the Hulk into orbit. He didn't seem to give a shit. Then some little kid had to punk him into saving him. Hey, that guy could die. He's like, shit, I got to fly up there and save his ass. Batman doesn't use guns except in the first fucking 25 issues, 50 issues or some shit in the original comic. You know,
Right.
when he was like a shadow clone. Well, they've moved beyond that, Rob.
I mean, shit, the original design, Superman was a villain and bald.
Well, let's not get into all that. Let's talk about the actual comics called Superman.
Well, I am getting into it.
So if they decide to make Superman a guy who doesn't kill, then I get that. You know, if the same with Batman. Like if part of the story arc, like in the Nolan universe, is that he doesn't kill, then okay, that's the Nolan universe. You know, character needs to stick to that. That's the character's rules for that movie universe. If it's the Burton movies where he's just lighting dudes on fire, hey, I'm cool with that too. That's what's going. You know, it's
Right.
when like you'd have one scene like in the Spider-Man movies, right? The new one where he's like, "Oh, I have to keep a promise. It's my responsibility." Except the best promises are the ones. It's so they try to have it both ways. On one hand, I'm a guy who has to keep promises to my Uncle Ben, but I don't actually have to keep promises to people who are gonna, you know,
Um,
it's
I think
almost
in the
schizophrenic.
I think in the Nolan verse, people get killed from Batman, throwing them, hitting them, bullets. They don't ever show that shit, but like they're getting hit with a lot of stuff, and somebody dies.
The difference is intentionally murdering folks. They
Right.
just don't, you know.
Oh man, but yeah, the Tim Burton one when he just straps the bomb back on the dude and throws him down the
Ooh, that's
well.
the second one. Imagine, remember the first one when he just literally he didn't care. When that guy attacked him in the belt, he just moved out the way, let the guy fall to his death. You know, didn't
Right.
save him. Didn't he
He
just,
he turned the turbos on his car on the dude, lit him on fire.
yeah, you know, flaming, flame
Because
on.
it was a little comical. People were
In
just
the
like,
first movie, he
eh.
just blew up the Axis chemicals. You know, how many people do you think died in that? Plus all the chemical fallout that probably occurred. Did you ever blow up a
Oh,
chemical
when
plant?
he's driving through it, dropping his bombs.
Yeah, you know. Wonder how many chemicals were released into that in the air and worked their way down into Gotham. And,
Less strict policies back then.
well, I just the internet, you know, because we're all following everything from the beginning, we have ample time to overanalyze everything now. You know,
Right.
like let's always get back into which Superman are you talking about? The one that served Ronald Reagan? You know, was the army? Like, I don't understand. You know, the one that fought in World War II and knocked Hitler off. Like, that exists. You know, but this is the internet that believes Into Darkness is the worst Star Trek film, and I'm just like, it's not even in the top three. It's not. There's like 13. How many Star Trek movies are there? I think like 13. And you could just start with all the Star Trek Next Generation films. You know, they're all worse than even the first Star Trek movie.
Wasn't there one where they had to save the whales or something?
Most people like that. That's four, Voyage Home. But it's not really Star Trek. They're not doing science fiction shit. You know, it's an environmental movie. But it's kind of a comedy. It's fun.
I don't know. I just heard there was one about saving whales, and I
No, that's
think
fine. They go back in time. Yeah.
is that the one Nemo didn't Nemo direct
Yeah,
one?
Nimoy directed it, but Nicholas Meyer, the guy who directed two, co-wrote it with him.
Yeah,
So
Nimoy.
yeah, but Nicholas Meyer, the guy who wrote
Mhm.
Star Trek Wrath of Khan and
Uh,
directed it, and then also directed the sixth one, he co-wrote on the fourth with Nimoy. So you can basically the best Star Trek movies were because Nicholas Meyer was involved. And so I love it when they say the argument against J.J. Abrams is he wasn't a Star Trek fan. I'm like, well, neither was Nicholas Meyer. Like, really got to listen to the audio commentary for like Wrath of Khan
mhm.
and Undiscovered Country. Nicholas Meyer wasn't a Star Trek fan. He's a Holmes fan. He wrote all the Sherlock Holmes lines that like Nimoy has in the movies are
Uh-huh.
because of him. You know, he wrote a he wrote a book called The 7% Solution about Sigmund Freud and Sherlock Holmes, and he directed another favorite time travel movie. It's the movie that created the. There's a movie in the '70s that came out with Mary Strieberg. Remember she was in Back to the Future 3,
Mhm.
and is it Andy McDowell? I forget the McDowell names, but Malcolm McDowell, and then the guy who played the Klingon president in Six. And it's a time travel movie about Jules Verne chasing Jack the Ripper into modern day '70s. And I always forget the name. It's like Into Time, Mark of Time, or something like that. And the time machine box that they use right in the movie, it's the control box is the one from the DeLorean in Back to the Future. Like they took the exact same one. Like, but this is like 10 years before. Like whoever saw that movie was like, hey, let's put that shit in there. So it's pretty cool. And that Mary Strieberg is in this movie. You know, when she was like really young too. It's pretty cool because she ended up being Back to the Future. That's some nice Back to the Future Easter eggs. But good movie, holds up. Really interesting part though, when Jules Verne's going back in time, he decided to use music, you know, as a way to sort of display
Mhm.
going back in time, and they did this weird effect thing, and it basically, you got to watch it because if you look at it, it is the Winamp synthesizer now. Like when we turn on the Winamp and you get that, you know, weird and the flowing through vortex,
Right.
you know, it's that. Like almost the exact same patterns. Like the Nick Meyer. No, the worst person to ever be handed the fucking Star Trek, you know, directorial duties is Jonathan Frakes and William Shatner, as far as I'm concerned. Final Frontier is fucking horrible, dude. Like I can't sit. It has okay. It's not so horrible because it does have one good sequence in the movie. No, it doesn't. That's not five. That's six. Damn. No, Final Frontier sucks. Just remembered. I was thinking about when they go to fucking Rua Pente, but that's six. The ice planet.
Is that your final answer?
So, no, yeah, Frontier sucks. It's horrible. What does God need with Starship? I don't know. I like Batman '89. I'm not the biggest fan of Batman Returns. I don't think it's horrible, but
Right.
I remember coming out of that movie conflicted when I was a kid. Like, I remember as if it were yesterday. Like, not a bad movie. I like the soundtrack. You know, I like the Batman. You know, the Penguin Commandos. A lot of people like. I didn't really care one way or the other when I was a kid. Like this is right out of eighth grade, so I was like, well, you know, Penguin Commandos, I can buy. I bought it in Ninja Turtles. I'm like, whatever. It's just I didn't understand what the point was. Like she became Catwoman because she fell out of a building and cats bit her. I mean, she should have been mashed potatoes when she hit the ground, right? So did all the other guys in the last movie when they fell from the tower did the Joker get superpowers when he fell? See, I'm trying to say she fell from the same height that the Joker fell in the previous movie that killed him, but she didn't turn into, you know, I don't know. She lived, came back as hmm.
Dominatrix. That's pretty much what she was.
I didn't get it, but it wasn't bad. It just I was really into the. It's right before the cartoon came out, and that was the summer I saw the cartoon at Comic Con before it came out.
Mhm.
And I was just way more excited about that than I was Batman Returns after the fact.
All right.
But it wasn't a big clusterfuck like FU. It was still it had a lot of good moments, and I enjoyed some of the sniping about who let Vicky Vale in the Batcave. I thought that was cool. Yeah, but it just didn't have Batman moments. Like I wanted to see him training, building shit. I don't know, something. Do some Batman shit. Like
Hmm.
Batman's sitting around his whole time trying to figure out who he's gonna date. I'm like, that's the least interesting part of Batman to me.
So
You
that's one
know?
of the problems I had with the Nolan verse. I didn't see him doing like the one thing I missed was Batman going out on patrol and just actual fighting like regular crimes. And I
Well,
know
he
that's
did that in the first movie. Remember Joffrey, the little kid? He was out
oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah, so he was
Which
doing
yeah,
that.
that was but he was still after the crime boss guy, which was cool. I like that. And I understand, petty crimes go to the cops, blah, 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 and he handles the big shit, but I just wanted to see a little bit more of that. Just,
And he did in the front of Dark Knight Returns. I mean, that's what he was doing, right? In the Dark Knight with the
right.
Scarecrow and that whole sequence.
Yeah, but that's still a villain. That's not just
No,
name.
there was just normal street thug dudes
Right,
running
but
together.
like in the first Batman with Tim Burton, the guys steal a purse and shit, and he goes after him type crap.
Right, you want to see that exact sequence over and over again?
Not that sequence, but just something. Someone rob a liquor store with a gun, shooting the shit up. Batman chases them, real dark,
Well,
ominous.
the problem with that, I'm not saying you shouldn't see it. I'm just letting you know. It's like when I was drawing Monstroids, okay? And Kevin would write these sequences where Monstroids fight these giant gorillas. And I was like, so the gorillas, okay, I drew them like with chainsaw attachments and shit. And he's like, no, no, they're just animals, man. They're just big animals. They can't have tech. Only the monsters have tech. I'm like, look, I get that, Kevin, but this is really gonna be a slaughter. Like, it's it's gonna be the Monstroids who have these giant guns and gears pounding the shit out of some animals. And they're monkeys, Kevin. So think about that. Like, you could be accused of something here. So perhaps we should some kind of escalation to pump them up. So I get the first thing, but I don't know how much street level crime you're going to get from a Batman who's 41 years old. Unless the street crime, they're mutants, right? Remember in The Dark Knight Returns? They were really horrific street crime guys. So
Right. Well, I was just thinking more of him
the
like
problem is the Gotham that they showed did not have the slums. Like they kind of had the slums in the first movie, and then it became sort of this glass, Rome.
right.
And so that really comes to the environment, that he's in. So I hear you. And so then they played a different game altogether. But Detroit's pretty gothic, dude. You ever seen the architecture out there? It looks like Burton's universe. Like,
Right.
I mean, so you're gonna get. I imagine maybe not in this movie, but I don't know. You'll definitely get him beating up on some dudes janking lotto tickets or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think? I wonder how they're gonna play off why Batman doesn't like Superman other than being an alien. Maybe something landed in Metropolis, killed people. I don't know. That's what I'm curious. I just want to. I'm really curious about
Well,
the.
there'll be no prior history between the two, so
Right.
it ends up becoming it'll have to end up being just a point of uh, philosophical differences on some level.
Right. Or
Maybe he's
death.
back in the military, and
Wayne
shit
is.
goes down, and or he agrees to. I don't know. That'll
Right.
be interesting. I hope they don't use the Wolfgang Peterson script idea.
What's
Did
that?
you ever read that?
Nope.
So they had planned on making Batman versus Superman back in like 2005, before they made Batman Begins,
Uh huh.
and they decided not to do it. And they actually had the guy who wrote Seven wrote a script, and Wolfgang Peterson was going to direct. And it was literally Bruce Wayne is going to finally get hitched and married, and Superman went to go stop something, and his fiance died, and so now he hates Superman. Yeah,
I'm gonna pass.
which I doubt they're going to do, but given that Ben Affleck's involved now. Who would have thought Ben Affleck would be the champion of story? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we never saw that coming. Like because he's involved, we all feel the story will be better. That's crazy. But
We had a shared moment. Shared moment. What's the no, my friend? What's the no? What's the no? Dropping some Chase and Amy quotes right there.
I know it's actually not my favorite. I still like Mallrats the best. I don't know why.
Chase and Amy's my favorite. Maybe because
Yeah, I don't really need to get into the whole threesome thing.
no, it wasn't
I
that.
like
It
the
was
Comic Con shit. You know?
right. I don't think it was that. I think it was I think seeing comic, not big comic book artists, but their own thing at their own studio, and being younger. I liked that part. It wasn't the sexual part. It was the
Yeah, I get that. Anytime I'm bagging stuff up, I remember the scene where what's her face, Joey Lauren and all her friends are bagging up comics.
right.
You know, I get that.
And I just like Banksy and talking shit all the time to Hooper. But I
But I
mean,
still like Mallrats the best. It's literally just it's my stupid fun movie.
right.
You know, I mean it should not exist, and yet it does.
How do you feel about how you like Dogma?
Uh,
I like.
I don't get the turn at the end.
Uh,
The turn that Matt Damon's character makes is strange to me,
uh,
and I feel that if the movie's not bad, I think that Smith was kind of hosed in that that chick did not want to be in that movie, and you can tell. The lead, what's her face?
Mini Drive was a Mini Driver.
No, it's not Minnie Driver. It's
Uh,
chick from fucking Men in Black. She did not want to be in that movie,
so why'd she do it?
and huh?
Why'd she do it?
He didn't know. It just turns out she didn't want to be in it, and for whatever he didn't know. You should listen to the commentary, you know. And she was a real fucking pain in the ass anytime they wanted to do something. And so she had that kind of like who gives a fuck attitude in the movie, and it's because she didn't even want to be in it, you know.
Right.
And he could have just put anybody in that role, you know, and it would have been, you know. I thought Garofalo should have got that lead, given that role she played in it, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she would have been a better fit. Even Sarah Silverman was around at the time, you know. That would have been
Right.
possible. You ever see her in Way of the Gun?
No.
Look up Sarah Silverman Way of the Gun sometime.
All right.
Behold at the craziness.
I liked when Affleck just goes batshit crazy. He starts yelling at Loki or Matt Damon, and he's just off his rocker, just yelling. I was like, yeah, that's some mean Affleck right there.
Yeah, I didn't get the turn. The turn wasn't enough for me. I mean, it had a lot of preacher elements. You know, God disappears, and you know, like there was a lot of that going on in the movie. But it's cool, man. You know, Rickman plays a eunuch. It's funny. All right, so ink and shade is done. That took way too long, and I got to ink it twice. So that'll be fun for those who watch on the YouTubes. So I will get better with the inking, but there's just not enough fucking time
Right.
to be doing this twice or whatever. So I gotta get this scanned in and whatnot, and get going on the Copics. So I'll probably take 20 minutes off and then get going again. Do you want to come back on, or are you gonna be busy?
I'm gonna eat. Send me an invite. I'm gonna make some soup and eat real quick, and just put some clothes in the wash, and then yeah, I'll hop on probably 40 minutes.
All right, cool.
All right, bye.
All right.